Hi, Cory Geiger along with Neil Rudel, our PSU Presser. Just got finished with Bill O'Brien's press conference. Boy, really tough game this week on the road, Lincoln, Nebraska, a Cornhusker team that has a lot to play for, Neil. Really should be an interesting challenge for this Penn State team.
Yeah, I think this would be the first, this would be the best chance for a signature win. Obviously, Ohio State was that. They didn't get that. I think of the three remaining games, this would be the biggest one because it's on the road. You also have Wisconsin coming in. But, you know, as much as is on the line for Nebraska, you know, I think Penn State has had a lot to play for all year, particularly with the unusual circumstances. So I'd kind of equal that out in the intangibles.
And that's where I would disagree. I don't want to diminish what Penn State has to play for because obviously these kids have just been phenomenal with the character, and I give Bill O'Brien a lot of credit. He focuses on what they have to do and what's at stake for them. And that is fantastic, and that's the way he should be doing it. I can't say that it evens out. Nebraska has a chance to go to the Rose Bowl. So I understand that Penn State has a lot to play for, but really at the end of the day, you're going into a hostile environment against a team that's trying to get to the Big Ten championship game and then the Rose Bowl. I just don't see how you can say that evens out.
Well, I think it does. I mean, you know, they have a chance to get to the Rose Bowl, but I don't know that that means any more than this is Penn State's Rose Bowl type game.
Sure.
I think the incentive, again, I think that they're equal, especially because Penn State doesn't have a Rose Bowl to play for. So, now, the fact that they're out there, the fact that Nebraska has a great running game, the fact that Jordan Hill may not play, I mean, there's a lot of factors. I think you could definitely make a case for Nebraska. But again, I think this Penn State team's had a lot to play for all year.
Odds makers have a case for Nebraska starting them up as an
I realize that,
favorite.
yeah.
I mean, we'll get to our predictions.
I'm not saying that Nebraska
I think
isn't
what
the
happens
favorite.
in situations like this is obviously we know the Penn State situation so closely that I kind of think that maybe people start to think it means a little bit more than maybe what it might, and I think that's the danger here because obviously this means a lot to the Penn State kids, but in sports you have to consider what it means to the other team as well. And again, I mean, we're going to agree to disagree on that, but again, when you've got if Penn State was playing for a Rose Bowl, I can't believe that you would think that the opponent would have as much to play for when they can't go to a bowl game.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we can agree to disagree. I don't know how we can evaluate what Nebraska thinks they have to play for versus, what this team has to play for. I think this team has a lot to play for. You know, when you only have 3 games left, and this is their last big road game. You know, to me, if they lose this game, it's not going to be because Nebraska, in my mind, because Nebraska had a chance to go to the Rose Bowl and these guys didn't. It'll probably be because Nebraska would be better than that.
All right, well, like I said, we're going to agree to disagree on that. Dual threat quarterback, Penn State's faced a bunch of them already this year. Ohio's Tyler Tettleton got the better of them here at Beaver Stadium. Braxton Miller's not really much of a throwing threat. I think he was 7 of 19 in that game. Taylor Martinez is a dual threat. He completes 63%. He throws for 214 yards per game. He rushes for 74 yards per game. This guy, Braxton Miller, is a great athlete, but he really couldn't beat you with his arm. Taylor Martinez can beat you with his arm or his legs. 205 yards rushing against Michigan State.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the biggest challenge, especially with Jordan Hill. And Bill O'Brien listed Hill and Kyle Carter as day-to-day. It would really surprise me if Hill could play this week, to come off that injury that he had last week at Purdue. So I think that's going to be a huge challenge, stopping the run. And you're right, they didn't necessarily spy Miller and designate one guy against him at Ohio State, and it kind of hurt him.
Yeah, and you can't really do that against Taylor Martinez. You can't spy him because, like I said, he can beat you with his arm, 63%, throwing for, I think, 214, 215 yards per game. So that puts an onus on the secondary for Penn State. Bill O'Brien did talk about how the defensive backs have really improved since the beginning of the year, and we've seen that. And I think this will be a big challenge for them facing a team that can throw the ball.
Yeah. And, I don't think I think the secondary's played well, but I think there have been a half a dozen real catchable balls on the not only, and Amadi has 3 interceptions, but generally Hodges has had a shot at a couple. Obang has had some real chance, has had some big drops on defense. And I think in a game like this, you just can't let those opportunities pass without paying for it. I think it's going to be a big deal for their defense to be able to catch the ball if they have the opportunity.
Yeah, that Jordan Hill injury is really, could be a potential big loss in a game like this because they do run the ball well. We don't know if Rex Burkhead is going to play for Nebraska, but Amir Abdullah had a good game last week against Michigan State. I'm not quite sure how to figure out Nebraska. I don't think they're a great team. They probably should have lost that game at Michigan State, but they got the ball back. They were able to score in the final minute or so, and that's a good character kind of win for that Nebraska team. So it'll be interesting to see if they can build on that momentum, or if they might have a little bit of a lull coming back from a game like that.
Well, they are a character team. Wisconsin pretty much had them down in Lincoln earlier this season. The one thing, Nebraska's defense is a little bit vulnerable. They've been lit up for 24 or 5 points a half a dozen times, so that may be an opportunity for Penn State to exploit. When this came up in the press conference, he obviously made the change. O'Brien did to go to Zwinak as their starting running back last week. They made that change. I think they made that change last week with this game in mind, that they're going to try to power the ball against Nebraska with Zwinak and Zordich, even if that is at the expense of Bill Belton.
Absolutely. Nebraska gives up a lot of rushing yards per game, close to 200 per game on the ground. All right, score predictions. It's a big game for both teams, obviously. And again, I don't want to diminish that Penn State has a lot to play for. What kind of score do you have? No, I think it's getting overblown compared to a team that has a shot at the Rose Bowl.
Yeah. I've been to the Rose Bowl. There's a lot of traffic out there. It's a little overrated. I picked Penn State. I think you can make a case for both teams, certainly. But I think I'm going to make a case for Penn State. I think that this team has played with a lot of character and doesn't have the signature win. And I think that's going to provide a lot of motivation. I think they have a chance for a great finish, but it would have to include this game. And I picked a Penn State 28, Nebraska 24.
And I'm pretty similar, but I'm just going to flip it. And I went back and forth on this. I'm going Nebraska 30, Penn State 24. We may even see more points than that because it could be one of those 37-34 kind of games, and that wouldn't really surprise me at all.